Welcome back, everybody. It is April 30th, 2020, and this is episode 17 of What Is On My Desk. Here we are back for another edition of the What Is On My Desk series. As I said, it is now, it's April 30th. I'm doing this a day in advance than what I normally do. I'm not going to have a lot of free time for the next couple of days, so I figured I'd get most of this knocked out now while I have the time. And I'll edit it and get this posted early in the month. One day is not going to make much of a difference when it comes to the progress on some of these models. So I'm trying out something new. I've got my older Canon here, T-6II, that I usually use to do the still shots on the model desk. I'm going to be using that, I think, as my face-to-face camera and leave the other handheld video camera that I've been using set up over the desk strictly for the model build logs and the top-down view of the desks. So we'll see what the quality looks like, how this turns out, how the sound turns out. This does have a mic connection on it, so I might be investing in a microphone, just depending on how this works out, so that when I'm doing these face-to-face videos, the sound quality will be a little bit better than what we currently have. So this month we're going to see a couple of updates. The 4 kits I got going, I have made some progress on them in the past month, being that we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 situation. My work hours have been curtailed, which means that I do get a few extra hours here and there to come down and sit at the desk. So I have made a bit of progress on them, so I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with some of them. Others, not so much. I've been focusing on some of the more difficult kits over some of the easier kits, so you'll see here in a little bit what I'm talking about with the progress. So it is coming along. I've also got 2 new decal sheets to go over. Some stuff I found that was on sale, and you know, it's something I did need the decal sheets at some point for future builds, so I got them while I could. So we'll get started on that stuff, and I think that is going to be the video. Update on the 4 builds and the 2 decal sheets. So let's get set up over here. We'll get on the desk. We'll get some of these kits looked at. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. So here we are back at the desk. So I do have, it is still May 1st, so I did get this section of the video filmed when I wanted to. So we're a little bit ahead of the game here. Hopefully I can get this video edited in the next couple of days and get this thing posted close to the beginning of the month. So I'll jump right into it. We'll look at the progress on some of these kits. We'll start off with the P47. I can't remember what the status was of this kit the last time you saw it. I didn't get a whole lot done the past month. I've been focusing on the other couple of kits. So we'll start off, really the only, I mean, like I said, I haven't done much, but here we go. This is the P47. So you'll see I have the main airframe has been assembled. So wings, tails, fuselage, everything is assembled. I have been doing a bit of cleanup in and around the seams. So you'll see the seam here where the wing, so like I said, the bottom of the wing was a single piece with the center fuselage barrel included. So the seam here where it meets the fuselage, it did have a little bit of a step. So I filled it in with a bit of putty. There's still the slightest bit of a step here. I'm not going to worry too much about it. The finished kit will be wheels down on the ground. So in reality, some of this will be missing as well. It's going to have the drop tank mounted. So I mean, with all of what's going on the belly, you're not really going to see much of what's happening right here on the bottom. So I'm not too worried if there's a slight, I mean, visually I can't really see it. Feeling it, you just feel the hint of the step. Back here, I had to do a little bit of cleanup in this area. This is the exhaust gate for the turbo supercharger. Come on, focus, focus, focus. So there's the exhaust gate. So there's a seam that runs down the belly here and across this and then continues down inside here and pops out right there, and then this piece gets glued on. So I did have to clean that up. It was a pretty significant gap in there and step. You can see how much putty is actually filled in on that. So that did take a little bit of effort to get in there and get that cleaned up nice and smooth, and then install the step. The tail wheel is a separate piece, and I will paint it separately and then glue it in after the rest of it is put together. The horizontal stabs, I just did the slightest bit of sanding just to clean that up. Otherwise, they went on quite nicely. Everything is smooth. I cleaned up the seams. Back here, I put the tail strake on, the extension that was on the D30, P47 D30, which this was one of. Also a bit of putty up here and cleaned up that seam. Otherwise, it went together quite nicely. The wings didn't really require any putty at all. They're nice and smooth. I've also got the holes drilled for the drop tanks, so the pylons on the wings as well as the pylons in the belly. I'm going to clean that up a little bit afterwards. Getting ready to put a coat of primer on this, hoping to get that coat of primer on here relatively soon. I got to get the canopy masked, so I need to get the gun sight installed, get the canopies masked, get the canopies installed, clean up the edges around the canopies, and then I got to paint this olive drab color on the canopies. I got to double check the framing colors for the canopies. I can't remember if it's the interior color or the exterior fuselage color here, the green. So I got to figure that out, but then get the canopies installed, get that framing painted the proper color, and then it's ready for a coat of primer, and then I can check for the fit and finish and clean up some of these panel lines after that. So we're getting there. I still got to figure out the wheel wells. I'm leaning towards probably just masking them off and then filling with the toilet paper, or Kleenex I should say, and then painting the gear doors separate. I'm thinking I may do the gear doors a different shade of metal as the rest of the airframe. My plan right now is to do the whole thing most likely in, I have a couple of different colors. I have aluminum and I have airframe aluminum. And I'm probably going to do the main aircraft in just aluminum, which is a lighter, the airframe aluminum is a slightly darker shade. So do the entire aircraft in aluminum, do the gear doors in airframe aluminum, the flaps, top and bottom, in airframe aluminum, the gun bays and the ammo bay covers in airframe aluminum, and I'm thinking I might do the elevators in airframe aluminum, and then leaving the rest. Although, you know what? I say that, but the elevators are painted orange. I still got to figure some out because I believe the elevators are painted orange on this particular scheme. So it does kind of limit, yeah, so the elevators and rudder are completely painted orange. So yeah, I think I might just do the landing gear doors. The landing gear doors in airframe aluminum, the gun covers in airframe aluminum, and the flaps in airframe aluminum, and then do the rest of the airframe in the regular aluminum color. There is quite a bit of color on this aircraft, so you do lose quite a bit of the fuselage underneath of color, the tails, the tops of fuselage, the entire cowling, that's all separate color. And then when you add in the roundels and whatnot, there's only the wings and a little bit of the fuselage, which is left in aluminum. So I'm going to break the wings up a little bit, but not so much on the airframe. And then this part here and this little part here is supposed to be in a different shade, which I might end up doing later on, masking off and painting them in the exhaust colors. So it's going to be an interesting game. I'm still not entirely sure if I'm doing metallizer first and then color, or color and then metallizer. I got to do a couple of tests and see how the paint holds under masking tape, and I'll go from there. So I'm on the fence, I'm not too sure, but we'll see. So there we go, that's the P47. I do have the cowling. Cowling is done as well, so there we have the cowling and the cowl flaps, and then I will paint those separately because, well, this is aluminum up to here. The cowl flaps themselves have a decal, and then the cowling is yellow up to the front, and then the forward ring is red. So keeping them separate allows me to prime them both, and then paint this yellow, and then once the yellow is dry, to paint the forward ring in red, and that will give me that color. This I will effectively leave and just decal over the primer, and then I will assemble all of it after I have completed the painting. So that's that. The only real, other than the minor work I've done on the fuselage, the only real thing I've done on this aircraft is the engine. I've been working away at it, getting the details done. So there's the front half. Let's zoom in here a little bit so you guys can actually get a good look at it. So there's the forward half of the engine. So there was airbrushed steel, and then I went through and picked out the black, the push rods, and the cover, valve head covers. And then the rear half of the engine, which I didn't do much on other than just painting it steel. And then down here I painted the edge of that with the zinc chromate color, which is what it's supposed to look like. And then this is the forward half, and I have gone ahead and weathered it. So when it all gets put together, it's already basically weathered for me. I just have to give it a shot of flat coat, and then it's all done. So this is, I gotta start assembling this part soon. But again, this will be installed in the engine cowling after everything's painted. So this was just a bit of a side project for me to keep doing some work on the P-47 because there wasn't much to do due to the fact that I was focusing my efforts on the other aircraft. And speaking of that, let's move on to the other aircraft. So next up is the 172nd F-18. This one you're going to see some good progress on. I actually have it primed at this point. It is still missing some of the parts. I'm sure you can easily tell what is missing. So right off the hop, I need to still install the vertical stabilizers. I find they tend to get in the way trying to work in some of these corners. It's hard to get in here at the tails, so I left them off to the end so I could get some of the other work done. So right now, from the top half, as you see, the canopy's installed. I do have a few gaps I still have to clean up. There's a couple here on the side. There's a bit here, a little bit along the front. I'm going to fill in with some white glue just to seal that up, and then put another, I probably won't even put another coat. I'll probably just seal it up and then paint the final paint. Back here, the wing roots, I had to do a bit of putty work, so I need to go through and just clean up and recreate some of the panel lines that are missing. So that won't take too long to fix up. The rest of it I'm pretty happy with. Not going to do too much to it. I might clean up some of the panel lines up here on the nose. We'll see how that turns out. Underneath, again, not too shabby. The part that I ended up replacing over here turned out nice. The gear doors have all been glued in and cleaned up as much as possible. I'm not going to worry too much about it because it will be mounted on a stand and you won't get too good of a look at it. So as long as it looks like it's there, I'm happy. Cleaned up inside of these areas again. It's not the prettiest, but being mounted on a stand, you're not going to really be able to get in there and see the best of the worst of it, I should say. So I'm going to manage it, and then with paint and weather, you're not going to notice some of the smaller issues. So at this point, I'm happy with how it looks. It's just a matter of cleaning up these cockpit holes, going through and cleaning up some of the panel lines that were lost in the progress. And other than that, this is effectively, well, I shouldn't say, I got to glue the tails on, and then I got to build the Lex fences. And I'll put a picture up of what a Lex fence is supposed to look like. The CF, well, all F-18s have it. When this model came out, it was actually released before the Lex fences were installed, so it did not come with one. So that is my next step. I have a 1/48 scale aircraft models. They have all Lex fences, so I'm going to measure those, and then using a handy dandy calculator, probably the one on my phone, calculate what that size should be in 1/72 scale, and then just cut it out of some sheet plastic and glue them on. So I got to get those done, and I got to glue the tails on, and once both of that is done, this is effectively ready for paint. And it is just a standard line bird, so it's just two-tone, light gray on the bottom, that medium gray, bluey gray on the top, and once that's done, it is good to go. Depending on how the tails fit, I might even paint the tails separate and glue them on after I paint. I'm going to see how clear, how tight that fit is, and figure that out later. So this is some minor work, and it is ready for paint. So I'm very happy with how this come along. I'm hoping to get the base cleaned up this weekend. So next month, you guys will see some significant progress on that kit. The other one I've been focusing my efforts on is the T-6II kit. And again, lots of progress on this. It needs a little bit of polish on it, and I mean polish in the general sense, not the literal sense. It is a short run kit. It did have some fit issues. I also ran it into an issue with the primer. I'm using the new Vallejo primer, and I have discovered that it takes a while to set. If you try to sand it too soon, it just peels off like a skin. And I ran into that issue. So especially back here in the tail, you may be able to see the remnants of where it just peeled off underneath. So I do need to do a little bit of cleaning, a bit of sandpaper, probably just a fine sandpaper. Just clean up some of these rough edges. Make sure it looks good before I paint. So it's basically just some minor cleanup on the tail, and especially here around the nose where I put the resin nose onto the plastic fuselage, just repair some of these panel lines. But other than that, this is pretty much done, and again, I am very happy with how this turned out. Can't complain at all. So really, the canopy here, I also got the vacuum form canopy cut out, and I have the interior gray painted on it. So this is ready for final paint. And this is more or less, like I said, a little bit of some light polishing at the rear fuselage with a fine grit sandpaper to clean up some edges, and just some panel line work along the nose. And other than that, this is effectively ready for paint. So I'll be getting the dark blue on, and then I have to mask that off because the leading edges of the horizontal, vertical stabilizers as well as the wing have an aluminum leading edge, and I'll paint that the same time I'm painting the P-47. So this one and the F-18 needed the most work, so I've been focusing my efforts on this, because the P-47, and as you'll see in a second, the Stuka, not a lot of work is needed. It more or less falls together. So I'm putting the effort into the ones that need the effort while I have the drive to do it, and then the easy stuff can all be done at the end. So that's my my theory, and we'll see if it pans out. But anyways, this is pretty much ready. So hopefully by next month you'll start to see some final paint on this thing, and we'll be getting close. There's also some weight in the nose. I ended up putting a bunch of weight, so you'll see it is pretty nose. I don't know if you can actually see that because of the way it, facing straight down. But it does have quite a bit of weight in the nose. It does like to sit nose down, so hopefully it'll sit on the gear, and hopefully the gear is strong enough. It does seem to be a softer gear, so I'm hoping that the gear will support the weight. Otherwise, I'm going to come up with a new plan for that. But anyways, T6 is coming along, so I'm very happy with that. The Stuka is the one that I've done the least amount of work on. So you'll see the forward fuselage is basically done. I have the rear decking put in place. I have the forward instrument panel put into place. This lower piece, including the window that sees down from the cockpit, and you can kind of see it there and out the bottom. So that's all put into place. I have done a basic sanding on it. It still needs a bit of a final polish sand before primer, but this is effectively complete. There's a couple of bit of work I got to do in here. There's a gun sight's got to be installed, and then there's like a little bumper pad to stop the pilot's head from hitting the instrument panel. So I got to glue both of those in, and then it's ready for the canopy to get installed. So I'll get that masked and get that installed soon. But otherwise, it is getting close to being ready. The wings, I have the lower wing cut out and cleaned up. I have not mounted the upper halves yet. I've been working on the bottom half. There's a lot of holes that had to be drilled out. There's bomb rack holes, there's air brake holes. The hole where the bomb was supposed to go, I filled in with a piece of plastic because the bomb will not be mounted. The bomb will be swung out on its cradle. So I had to get that all cleaned up. But it is effectively ready. So it's a couple of more steps, but in reality, the hard part is done on this. Better work in the cockpit, mask the canopy, glue the canopies, glue the wings together, clean the wings up. The nose section is completely done. I have it all cleaned up. I have it sanded. I have it puttied. It's 100% ready to go. There's a little bit of work I got to do in here just to clean up where this little piece mounts. So there's a little bit of cleanup I got to do in here, just a little bit of sanding just to make that look pretty. Not a whole lot to go. And then it can be mounted. I'm probably going to do it after I have the wings glued on, and then that just mounts. And I have looked at quite a few pictures, and the way this was designed as a power egg, quote unquote, the whole front part was just removed with the engine, and a whole new one was mounted to the airframe. So the seam along that seam on the real airplanes was a massive, massive gap. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm literally just going to glue it together and leave it, because that's how the real aircraft looked. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to leave it the way it is. So it's moving right along. This is the one I have the most work left to do on, but I think it will be the easiest to put together. Because the P-47 has the natural metal paint, it has to be very clean, very perfect, so there's been a lot of effort on that in sanding and cleaning and polishing. The F-18 had a lot of bad fit issues and stuff I had to replace. The T-6 had tons of fit issues, being a limited run kit. This is a shake and bake kit. This thing just falls together. Considering the paint scheme is going to be easy too, with just straight angles and stuff like that with the two-tone green, this is going to just more or less, hopefully, cross my fingers, knock wood, fall together. So I'm not pushing it too much. It's going to go together nice and easily at the end. So I've been focusing on the other kits, and probably once the P47 is primed, this will be my focus to get this completed. But I am still getting progress done. So that is the status of the 4 models. So like I said, hopefully in the June update, we will see some progress on those. So we'll move on to the 2 decals I have to review. I'm going to start with the 148. They're both from Leading Edge Decals, Canadian company that does Canadian subjects, obviously. And these are both for the F-18. Start off here. This is for the 148 scale kit, and it's from the 2008 NORAD demo bird. So it comes with, as usual, full color instructions that show you all the decal placements, everything else. It gives you different decals. There's some decals that are set up for the Hasegawa kit, and there are some decals that are sized for the Kinetic kit. As some of them are slightly different, they do give you the slight variations to fit between the 2 different versions. So it is kind of nice that they give you those different versions. You also have the option, so looking at the decal sheet here, there's so many decals on this sheet. So looking at these decals, for example, if we look at the tails here, you can see that there's tails for Kitty Hawk and tails for Hasegawa. You also have all the different markings you need for the horizontal stabs, the vertical stabs, the wing tips. Moving on to here, where it shows the fuselage spine, you will also notice you have, for example, here, the decals that are included with the white paint with the red stripe, and then a second set of decals of just the red stripe. And what that does is it allows you to either use the white decal or paint the white and use a red stripe decal. So for every decal that has white on it, it gives you the equivalent decals in only red. So you have here, red, so red with white, just red. The stripe down the middle, you have white with the red edges, and they give you just the red edges. So you have all of these options, whether you decide to do paint the white, or even for the tail, here's the horizontal, the vertical stabs. I believe these are for the wingtips. You get the upper and lower wingtip decals in both gray and red where the wingtips would be. So it gives you all of these options to paint the white or use a white decal. So I'm probably going to end up painting the white. It also gives you the templates. If you decide to paint the white, it shows you here a template, for example, the gloss white, and then the inner color would be the regular color, and it even shows you the gray outline of where the decal would be, and a black line, which is the intended line. So you can, for example, photocopy these and then cut along that line and then lay it over the top of the part, and you get a perfect line of where to paint the demarcation line, and the decal should cover it perfectly. So you got wingtips, horizontal stabs top and bottom. You also have a decal for the white stripe on the top of the fuselage, as well as the rear fuselages and the tips of the tails. So that they give you that. They also, a version of this kit, of this set, you can order. It's a slightly more expensive, and it includes paint masks for all of this. So you don't have to do the work yourself. It's a pre-cut mask. You just lay it on the kit, and then you can paint the white. So this option, I did not take it. I'm going to do it myself. I prefer doing it this way. I'm also cheap, so instead of spending the money. It also includes decals, masks for the underside false canopy. So you have decals as well as a mask. So if you choose to do the underside canopy in paint, you can, and if you want to go ahead and use the decals, you can. So it gives you both options. The one thing that I haven't actually figured out yet is, for example, if you use painting, I don't believe that there's the decals to for example, the canopy has these words written on the doors and stuff, and I don't believe they give you those decals if you paint it. So that's a little annoying. Same with this arrestor gear warning that belongs over the white. I don't believe they give you that as a decal, so that would be a little bit of annoying, but you know, I'll make it work. I might just have to use that. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But anyways, so you got quite a bit of options on the decals. You get the painting instructions. If you spend the extra, I believe it's an extra $10, you get the pre-cut masks. Oh, I take that back. I was missing a decal sheet, and I'm pretty sure this includes all the missing decals I was looking for, all the stencils. So there you go. You actually get another sheet. Does give you all of the missing decals, so I am crazy. So yes, you have the option of painting the white using a white decal. You get the difference between Hasegawa and kinetic sized. It also gives you a paint swatch on the aircraft as well as on the instructions, as well as on the actual decal sheet to match. I prefer to follow what's on the decal sheet, as I believe it's a slightly closer match than that. I wouldn't use that. I would use that. But you do get a paint swatch to match, and it does give you some examples of good paint to use, but you can mix and match as needed. But that'd be nice to take to a hobby shop, for example, and try to match the color. So you do get that option, that ability to match. Finally, you do get a pretty good size. It's a full legal sized set of reference pictures of the real aircraft. So you can start to see specifically how, you know, where the stripes match up, where the lines, you know, meet, everything else. So when you're laying your decals, you can make sure you're doing it exactly as it was supposed to be done on the real jet. So you can kind of see how it is supposed to go together. So I'm very happy I got this. I do have another 1/48 scale Hornet kicking around that I did not have decals for. Did not really know what my plan was going to be. So this is nice to have. I did like this jet, so I am extremely happy to have bought this set. So as I said, I just happened to be kicking around the Leading Edge website. Noticed that the prices weren't too bad, so I went ahead and placed the order. So the last set I have here, again, it's another Hasegawa set. It is a 1/32 set. So I did an F-18 and a Mirage 2. So there's a gentleman I used to know from Vintage Wings. He had a bunch of older models. So when he had a 1/24 scale ME-109 that his brother had built when they were young, and his brother had since passed away, and he wanted it. It had broken off of a stand, and it was, you know, a little old and dated, and he wanted just it cleaned up, not rebuilt, cleaned up. So I cleaned it up. I remounted it to a new base. And I also completed a 1/48 F-18 that somebody else had started for him. I finished it up as a bird that he flew, and he also did an exchange with a Mirage 2000, and he had it again partially finished, and I completed it. So I did all that, and as a thank you, he gave me a 1/32 scale F-18 that was partially built. So I have it. It's partially completed. I didn't have any plans for it. Saw this, and so I ended up going with the 439 Squadron Tiger Meat. So this aircraft is an interesting bird, full tiger stripes all across the top of the fuselage. The decal sheet itself is nothing, you know, it's not overwhelming. It's pretty simple because it gives you full sets of stencils for the tiger stripes. So you'll actually be able to cut out and use these stencils in order to paint the tiger stripes onto the airframe. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'll probably end up cutting some of these up into smaller sections in order to make it a little bit more easy to use. But yeah, so I'm very happy that I managed to track this down. Always been a cool bird I liked. I will be excited to do this one up at some point. I have no idea when I'm getting to this one. But like I said, it does. The only other issue I'm a little worried about, it does not give you masks for the drop tanks, so you'd have to sort of cut these out and scale them up to the right size. I may even do my bird clean without the drop tanks, just to save the trouble of doing that. But it is an interesting scheme. So that is that. I said I have no idea when I'm going to get to this, but now I have these put aside for when I want them. So that is the other one I got. Nothing too special on that. So that is the only two things I have. Hopefully I do have something special coming in the mail. It's coming in from overseas, so we'll see if and when it shows up. And hopefully it's here for next month, because it is very cool. And I have been looking for them for a very long time, and I found somebody overseas who was very, very nice and offered to help me out. So if I have it in time, we'll be going over to next week. So that is it for the desk portion of that. So thank you for following along. Stay tuned again. I got some more videos I plan on releasing in the next month. Some more tips and tricks. I have a new video series coming out. Finally got some new videos done. So hopefully I get some of that stuff released in the next month. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. So here we are, guys. Just before I finish off this video, just a quick update on what's going on. As I said at the beginning of this video, we're still in the middle of this COVID-19 situation. As of today, we had another cancellation for the air show season. So, I mean, we've already lost many of the early shows. Sun and Fun was canceled. The Selfridge show was canceled. A ton of the southern shows, the Texas, California shows, all those shows that can happen early in the year in the southern states, a lot of them have already been canceled. We currently are even looking at, well, as of today, the announcement came out that Oshkosh is officially canceled for 2020. That is huge. I don't think Oshkosh has been canceled since the 1960s or 70s, really. So, you know, it's definitely hurting the air show industry. We have, I still have 2 potential air shows that I am planning on going to, as long as things have gotten better. So Thunder over Michigan, as far as I know, they're still planning to do the show. It is the end of August. And then the show here in Ottawa at the Gatineau Airport with Vintage Wings is supposed to be the 2nd or 3rd week of September. So hopefully things start to get better and people are smart about this. And I know there's a lot of politics out there right now with everything. So I mean, as long as people do what is needed to do to get this over as fast as possible. So yeah, I mean, it's not a good situation. I'm missing out. I've already lost one. I have a feeling that Michigan is probably going to cancel. I'm just preparing myself for the letdown of that, and time will tell if even Gatineau will go ahead, because in reality, I mean, even if, let's say in July, things open up and things start going back to normal and they allow mass gatherings again, which I find highly unlikely that's even going to happen by July, you know, even by then, at the end of August at an air show, is the public going to feel safe enough to even go out and mass gather in a situation of 30, 40,000 people at an air show? So I think a lot of air show hosts organizations that are running these air shows are looking at it saying, even if we can open and run an air show, are people going to show up? And is it worth it putting the money out for a show where nobody shows up, or we don't make up enough money for people even to cover costs because people decide not to show up? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, just even at the Ottawa airport where I work, it is dead. We're talking 5, 6 commercial flights a day. You know, it's so slow right now. The industry has been hit extremely hard. So time will tell where we are. I will keep updates going on the Facebook page, as well as through these videos about what the plan is and what's going on. I really hope like we don't lose an entire air show season. It's going to be interesting to see if we do, who's coming back next year. What shows are going to have the ability to come back without the income. It's going to be a tough, interesting situation. So time will tell. So anyways, I know I'm rambling here. My mind is just kind of processing everything. Losing Oshkosh is an unbelievable blow to the international, to the air show community. That is a big staple of the air show community. So it's going to be an interesting summer. On that note, please stay safe out there. Do everything you can to keep you and your family safe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.